20 years, we've been living through the death of the American male. They have literally killed masculinity in our homes and our communities for one reason or another. But I raised my boys to be young men. And however you feel about that, you feel about that.
Right.
But my boys will always be respectful. They will always say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. No, sir, no, ma'am. They will always say thank you. They will always open a door for a lady. They will always make sure that their mother is taken care and provided for. They will always be men. And that's always since they were 2 years old. Every time I left for a job, I tell my 15-year-old, you're the man of the house. You make sure these doors are locked every night. This alarm is on. You text me or you call me every night before you go to bed and you wake up.
I love that.
Because we're men. If I'm not there to protect, he got to be there to protect. Because you can have all the money in the world, climb through the window, that money means nothing.
Right.
You can have all the celebrity in the world, you jump through the door, that celebrity means nothing.
Yeah.
So you got to have in the past.
All right, MC, I'm gonna let you get the first word on this.
Shout outs to Captain America for representing American men the way they should be. I've said this before, man. Like Anthony Mackie, his comments about masculinity have been spot on for a long time. It's dead, particularly in the Black community, man. And this is kind of why we are where we are right now. And this is kind of why the last election went the way that it went. In my opinion, everybody publicly declared war on masculinity, and you got this pushback last November. That's kind of put us where we are now. So let me give you an example of that. If somebody comes out and says an unpopular opinion, right? It could be something that is completely and 100% factual, but you're going to get emotional about it because, fuck it, let's just use a proper example. If Ben Shapiro says something about the Black community is suffering because their family dynamic is messed up, y'all gonna get pissed off at him because he's Ben Shapiro and he's not a Black person and he's talking about the Black community. If Charlie Kirk says something like that, you're going to get pissed. But what you're not realizing is it's 100% true. And that's how men need to operate. We got to stop being so emotional and deal with the logical side of things. We got to get back to protecting, like he talked about. He left the house. He put his 15-year-old son in charge of security and safety. We got to get back to problem solving and providing and protecting and producing and getting results. We're not there right now. We're a bunch of emotional people running around that's getting triggered over words and what politicians say instead of bossing up and either voting them out or forcing them to push our agenda. We don't even command respect from our women. We tolerate disrespect. We don't correct them. We just put up with it. We let these people just beat us down and make us think we're less than what we are. And a lot of men are waking up and they're saying that they're tired of it. They're tired of it. They're tired of it. And this people like Anthony Mackie are going to be the ones to lead efforts like this to bring masculinity back.
Yeah. So, right message, MC, and I feel really bad. I mean, full disclosure, I saw the Captain America movie. I think Captain America got more hate than it deserves. It was a solid movie, in my opinion. Captain Anthony Mackie as Captain America. You know, for a bunch of people that love what do you call it? The visibility or representation. There we go. For a bunch of people that love representation, Black people didn't show up for Captain America. You know, I thought it was a really good movie. I thought it was like you know, it moved the story along. And I've been kind of anti-Disney for a while, anti-Marvel for a while, but I'm slowly looking back at it though. But yeah, but this Captain America movie, I mean, it's everything that you wanted it to be. I know it's not as Black Panther-y, but I think this Captain America movie should have did a little bit better than what the budget is a financial flop. So that said, Anthony Mackie, right message, wrong messenger. Like, I'm on board with him. Did you know Anthony Mackie was divorced?
Did not.
Okay, so and you know,
Theory
people
about that.
celebrities
Go
get
ahead.
yeah, yeah. So Anthony Mackie, he's divorced. So he's talking about leaving his boys at home because he's not there. You ain't gonna be there. You ain't never gonna be there. Matter of fact, his wife is probably getting bust down by another dude. But the biggest issue I have a problem with Anthony Mackie saying it, and it's kind of like under the radars. It's because of the Black Mirror episode. I can't do it,
I heard
man.
about
Here, let
this.
me.
Oh God.
I can't do it. Hold on. Let me get to this spot. See, I'm gonna save the viewers. I'm gonna save you guys the. I
If this
can't.
is what I think it is, I'm not even about to watch this. I'm gonna put my eyes down. I just had dinner.
Did not know when the and I've been a fan of Black Mirror for a while, but then they got goofy, and this is one of the reasons they've gotten goofy. And I know they got another season coming out though, but this is a problem. Like Anthony Mackie, again, you can have the right message, but you when they say you got to give when Corey Holcomb says you got to give up your butthole for Hollywood, this is what he's talking about. And where's the masculinity in that? I mean, you can't do stuff like this. You can't be talking about making boys and then you did an episode that the part of the reason most people didn't even know about it because Black Mirror's just been sliding. But you do an episode like this, sorry. You can't talk about masculinity at all. Like D Wade can't talk about masculinity. Anthony Mackie can't talk about masculinity. I'm not saying these guys aren't men, but when it comes to like telling other men and talking about the death of masculinity, not you guys. You guys can't talk about it. You can't have this discussion. And it's unfortunate though, because yeah, we are watching. We saw a whole 4 years of masculinity folding. It became political. And for the men that men were shamed of being, masculine men. They try to tell us that Tim Walz and Doug Pimpham Imhoff, those are the pinnacle of masculinity for the Democratic Party. And while you got Trump at the UFC fights and talking to Joe Rogan, like you're getting two different messages. And Anthony Mackie, lately, I don't know his full political views, but he's been siding on the Democrat side though. And so masculine on the Democrat side is not where most men want to
It's
be. Most
lacking.
men
Just go ahead
aspire
and
to
just
be.
say it's lacking, TR. That's the problem.
Oh yeah, it's lacking a lot of testosterone. It's lacking. And I understand that he was doing a job. Damn that. I mean, I know Will Smith had to do some crazy stuff, but Corey Holcomb is right when he says men have to give up their buttholes if they want to go far in this industry. And it's unfortunate because Anthony Mackie, I think, is a phenomenal actor too. It's just, I saw you and cringe and look, if you want to do it, that's fine. You just can't talk about masculinity. I just draw the line there.
You just killed my next point I was about to make. But let me go back and pivot real quick. Did you just say the Captain America movie flopped?
Clean it up.
I gotta go back. Did you just say the new Captain America movie flopped because the budget was 180 million and they've made over 400 million? I don't think that's a flop.
Oh, come on, MC.
That's not a
MC, that's
flop.
a flop. That's
You
a
made your
flop.
money back
I know.
and some, and you called it a flop.
Nope. Nope, because that movie had to do reshoots. And so I don't know how much that money was, but when we get the final numbers, because they're gonna have to release it when they do their earnings call. When we get the final numbers, all the reshoots and all the marketing, it's gonna exceed whatever money that they made. Like for example, that Mufasa movie did probably like 700, 800 million. That's not a good, you would think most movies, that's a good return. That's not a good return for Disney. Disney was expecting the Lion King live action movie to do $1 billion, and it did $1 billion. Mufasa was supposed to do $1 billion as well too. The Little Mermaid was supposed to do $1 billion, and it didn't. So when I say that these movies, when I say Captain America definitely flopped, it definitely flopped though. The numbers you see online, those aren't the actual number. The budget is gonna it's going to increase because Disney does this thing where they don't release the numbers until like maybe a year or two later, and then you find out like the Ant-Man movie flopped because when they released the budget because of all the marketing, and they didn't have to do reshoots, but they did reshoots for Captain America. So because of all of the issues with the test audience, that the movie wasn't going to do well, but that movie definitely flopped. That movie had the Captain, like Marvel movies have to do like triple or quadruple their budget, and that's just for them to break even.
So I just had to pivot real quick, but let me take you back to the subject at hand. So I have a theory about this, right? You just mentioned
Theory
that
about what?
Anthony Mackie is divorced. I'm familiar with 9 couples in the last 2
Wait,
years. Yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
one more thing,
Yep.
Cook. He got divorced the same year he did that Black Mirror movie too, or the Black Mirror
The way
show.
people
But
talk
go ahead.
privately, I wonder if those two things are related, but that's a different story. Um, Look, I'm familiar with 9 people that have gotten divorced in the last 2 years, 9 couples, right? I know the man and the woman. And one thing that I've noticed, a lot of these men that are waking up and getting back to being men again, the women don't really know how to handle it because they're so used to him being one way. And then all of a sudden maybe he got a little bit exposed to the red pill, or maybe he read a book, or maybe he figured out some things he was doing wrong. Masculinity is not always made to be comfortable. Part of masculinity is having head on conversations about issues and dealing with them right here in front of you. Like, I tell
Right.
the story about how I always tell my wife, hey, don't argue with men. If you have a problem with a man, that's not your problem anymore. That's my problem. A lot of women aren't going to want to hear stuff like that because they're so used to doing things their way. I just saw a video today. I think I sent it to you. It was 2 young black girls who tried to fight a grown white man. Don't know the context of it, but honestly, that white dude showed a lot of restraint, not
Yeah.
retaliating on those 2 women that were hitting on him. And I think they ripped his shirt off of him too. I don't know the context of what happened. I don't know if there was an accident or somebody said a racial slur,
Oh,
whatever.
the link didn't come
Yeah,
up, but I know what video you're talking. I know what video you're talking
yeah.
about though.
So I suspect, and I suspect a lot of men who are married and kind of walked into it like in like a beta situation and finally decided to grow up hair and be their own man. It created a lot of
Mhm.
discomfort with their wife, and she wasn't going to stick around and handle that. That's my theory, just a theory. I haven't confirmed it or anything, though. Just something to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, no. There's a lot of things that's going on when it comes to masculinity. It's coming back to the mainstream. Like you can have a real conversation about it though, but we got to remember, like maybe 2, 3 years ago, they went after like the Andrew Tate. They deplatformed him because he was whatever. I mean, I didn't even listen to Andrew Tate like that though, but apparently his message had made it to boys in school and teachers who are mainly women who are on this uh freaking this mission to teach your kids about rainbow activities. They were worried about their kids learning about Andrew Tate, so they took action and they kicked him off all the platforms, which is I never want to do censorship in that way. Even the Democrats, like, hey, let them rock. They got the voice, so it is what it is. I want them to put that ire back. I mean, put us back in the crosshairs because you couldn't talk about conservative stuff, and you damn sure couldn't talk about masculinity back then. So, but now that women are talking about it, it's okay to do it. Have those conversations, but
There's not
nobody
really
ever
any
wants to
safe
talk.
places to have masculine conversations. Definitely not school. That's where the demasculation starts. Look at it like this. How
Yeah.
many times we've been knowing each other since the 7th grade? How many times have you heard stories about 2 boys who got in a fight? One of the boys was defending himself, and he got the same punishment as the person that started it. So right away, you're
Yeah.
telling young boys you can't stand up for yourself. You're forcing them to sit
Yep.
still in the same place for hours at a time. With young boys are kinesthetic learners. They want to get out and do things with their hands. If you're going to sit and have a physics conversation with a young man, you need to put them in a situation where they can get up and do actual experiments with their hands and move around. It's easier for young
Yeah.
girls to sit there and kind of just absorb stuff like that. So you're taking this like cookie cutter way of learning and just teaching it to everybody the same way. And people have different learning styles. And we need to get back to, we should be able to solve all of our problems without violence, right? But most men understand sometimes you gotta bust somebody in their face. Like sometimes that's got to happen. Like we tried to talk this out, we didn't get it resolved. You still being mad, disrespectful. Something got to happen now. So let's just get this over with so we can move on. But you can't even do that no more because nowadays somebody get all in their feelings and try to grab their piece and escalate it to something else. Honestly, I think every man
Yeah.
should have a pair of boxing gloves in his trunk. I do.
Yeah. So I got one better for you. I saw a video that's making its rounds where some kid just smokes this other kid. He just punches him in the back of his head. They're in the classroom, okay, and just punches this kid in the back of his head. I don't know what led up to it. The kid's back was to him, and he just punched him. And the kid is just like, these are two boys, and there's an obvious size difference between the two boys. And the kid that punches him, he's a black kid, and the kid that who gets hit is a white kid. So that's probably why you haven't seen it on the news media, because that doesn't fit the narrative for the news media. But anyways, just punches him, and then he gets up and punches him again multiple times, knocks the kid out of his chair, and the kid's just in there crying. The boy is in there crying. Everybody's laughing. Teacher runs across the room, runs to the door, and starts making a phone call to bring in somebody. These teachers, and the majority of these teachers are women, they can't handle these boys, these testosterone boys that are like just doing stupid and silly shit, or they're harming other students. And so yeah, they definitely they do have to be taught a little bit different. But when it comes to like violence or whatever, you're sending your kids up to, figure out the hard way of like getting themselves in trouble or getting punched, or just really just straight up getting assaulted nowadays, because kids don't get arrested for stuff like that apparently.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, like a lot of these boys growing up, they're being taught by a lot of these teachers, telling them like, hey, make sure that you don't hit girls, or you don't you make sure you are you're saving the life of somebody else. And for society, yes, that's good. We should be looking out for each other. But unfortunately, we've gone so far past that you can't be teaching kids to do that nowadays, because it's going to end up costing you your life. Could cost you your job, because people aren't trying to like listen to reason anymore. Once they find a narrative, they find like, well, he said something rude, so that's why he got beat up. No, that's not right. You can't be just punching. Kids can't just be punching each other because somebody said something that they didn't like and just okay it. And not to mention the teachers are getting punched as well too. Like these 120-pound teachers, they can't take any of these boys out. They have the strength of a 12-year-old in most cases. Like most of them are not going to be able to stop some of these fights that break out. And you can say whatever you want about the parents, but at the end of the day, once they're in the school, they're supposed to be safe, but they're not safe. And they have to deal with some of these terrible kids who don't have masculinity in their own home, and they take it out on everybody else. They're just straight up bullies. And then people wonder why some of these incidents occur at these schools.
Yeah. I'm going to tell real quick the story of the first time I got a real deal masculine mentor experience, right? I used to start a lot of shit when I was younger, because I knew at the end of the day, I could run and go tell my mom, or in some rare instances, my dad, and they would have my back, right? But I had older cousins that, they was trying to put peep game in me and, kind of mold me to be like a better type of man, because I'm approaching my teenage years. And I'll never forget this. One of my oldest cousins, man, I was arguing back and forth with him, and he said the coldest thing to me. He said, look, you're old enough now where you about to be a man, which technically means I could kick your ass right now based on how you acting. And he let it be known. He said, I don't care who you run and go tell. You're at the age right now where you got to start realizing this stuff. So if you keep doing what you're doing, me and you about to throw some hands. And I had to like tighten up, because I realized in that moment he was teaching me something, right? And these are the types of things that young boys don't have right now, and it's destroying masculinity. Young boys naturally test boundaries. And this is why women, you can only raise them for so long. Eventually, they're going to start testing you. They're going to know that they're stronger than you physically, and they're going to test you, test. Now, if there's another man in that house, like, hey, you need to chill out, or something about to happen, then they get that little reality check. But it's just a natural thing. Like, this all plays into this masculinity. It has to be properly managed. It has to be properly mentored and crafted to be a productive member of society. And that's what's lacking right now. And that's frankly why a lot of women, you need it, but you don't even know you need it. Like every time somebody asks me to help them find a husband, the very first question I ask them is, if a real man was in your presence right now and he told you to change your entire lifestyle around, for your own protection, would you do it? And most of them will tell you no.
But they won't give up their social media
Right.
accounts.
So masculinity is not always made to be comfortable. It's supposed to be just. It's supposed to be fair. It's supposed to be of strength. It's supposed to be with compassion and with love. And occasionally, you got to be able to move some furniture. And everybody ain't comfortable with that.
No, not even close. And especially, like I said, the Democrat side, yeah, they're not comfortable with that. That's why the Democrats have the AOCs and Jasmine Ratchets leading the party right now. They're trying to get rid of all the men in the party that have some type of power. So Bernie Sanders, I mean, he's one of the biggest phonies in that party, though. Or I mean, that party has also screwed him over, but yet he still wants to. I think he's trying to screw the party over by pushing AOC into the leadership position. But you know, unfortunately, like it doesn't stop like at school. It doesn't stop at your job. The masculinity is definitely under attack, and masculinity will, you know, you got to hope that, I mean, for the single moms that, you know, maybe the father isn't there, you got to find a mentor. You got to find a mentor for your son, because that's going to help mold him to make sure he doesn't, you know, test boundaries with you, and also just test boundaries in society. Like only another man can really, you know, raise another man or sharpen, you know, what was it? Only a knife sharpen
Iron
another
sharpens
knife.
iron.
Like that's just, yeah, iron sharpens iron. Yeah, that's the only way. That's the only way that men become better men and productive members of society. Otherwise, you know, society falls in chaos, and that's why you have some of these, you know, these assaults that just continue to happen in our society. And you know, people don't know. They're like, I don't know what's going on. Like, the majority of these men are not being raised by their fathers or other men in the household. And if another man tries to tell a woman how to raise her kid, it's met with backlash. So I see why some men are like, hey, I'm out of it. I'm done.
Hey, I'm living proof of that. All of my early influences in my life were women, starting with my mom. My mom influenced me more than anybody else. I had my grandmas and my aunts. Those are all of my early life influences. But I also had older cousins, my fraternity brothers. I had people with the Urban League. I had like men who were like on me. So it matters. It really does. And I'm gonna tell you something else, women. If you do allow a man to mentor your child, it has to be his way. It can't be your way. Because the reason why we're here right now is
Right.
because you tried to do it your way and that didn't work. So just be considerate of that too.
Yeah. So good luck out you. And Anthony Mackie, stay. Can't talk about masculinity.
Man, you
bro.
like killed like 3 of our talking points with that Black Mirror clip. Man, I forgot about that.
Nah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I
Defend
can't
it.
defend that. No, sir. No way.
The ship is sinking. All right. Next episode or next topic.